Hey, here we go again. We have another Giants victory. So, who thought we'd get to 2 before we got out of October? I know I was completely confident. So
it's a short list,
especially when we go to Seattle. But somebody explain to me why the Giants can't win home games. I just, as a season ticket holder, I find that offensive. Like it's been, I didn't go back and look to see what our winning percentage is at home over the last 15 years, but I got to believe it's less than 40%. It can't be good. So, but hey, we're not here to whine. We have victory. So, yeah, it was kind of funny for me. This was the rare occasion where I actually got to watch this game in my home completely by myself. So I was very, very locked in. That's why the texts were certainly more active this time. Where Lucas was the one this week that was a little distracted. You can share where you were, where you almost witnessed some very funny college football antics. But yeah, this just so you guys know, though, I'm not going to say I thought they were going to win. I won't say that. But there was I'm watching early because I was just watching football afternoon. Like my lovely wife and her father were with family. They went to visit family up in Orlando. I was working and watching football all day. And so I'm watching the early pregame stuff. And one of these morons, I think it was on CBS, I can't remember which moron it was, is running through the afternoon games. And he doesn't even really mention the Giants. He goes, yeah, Seattle's got a pretty easy win ahead of them. I'm like, you SOB. So I wrote that one down. I'm like, I'm going to go back to that. So anyway, open to hearing your thought. Well, Lucas, first of all, where were you on Sunday that you weren't watching?
I just happened to be in Nashville, Tennessee, home of Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Just happened to be there. And it was on Broadway as the game was going on.
You watched the goalpost go down the street?
I was not there when the goalpost was going down.
So wait,
but
you were watching the game like in a bar while it was going on?
we were on Broadway. Like there's all the Bama fans and all like Vanderbilt people, and then we went back to Alexa's friend's house we were staying at, and we having dinner. The stadium was like 2 miles from the house, so we could hear like the band going on for the second half. And
you could actually hear the actual.
Yeah,
that's wild. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I saw on social media that we missed the goalpost coming down Broadway and getting thrown in the river. So
that's right.
I did not get to actually witness it, but it probably was much closer than I think it was to where I was at. So,
well, still, just being in a bar in that environment had to be just a lot of fun.
It was bad.
Yeah. You don't have a horse in the race, but you're pulling for one of them. That's fun. That's a lot of fun.
The closest collegiate experience I ever had of that was I was actually in College Park when Maryland won the national championship, when they were burning everything they could find. Every couch in College Park was set aflame. Yeah. I was in College Park, and it was right across the street from Fraternity Row. So it was pretty nuts. We were in an office building. We just sat there and watched the madness.
Nice.
Pretty fun though.
So, yes. So you were pretty much traveling your way home on Sunday, right? So that's why you were intermittent on your.
Yeah, I saw the second half of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. So I saw when it really mattered, but.
Right. My Jekyll and Hyde text always the up and down text.
Slayton can suck it. What a day!
That's right. Yeah, I think you need to publicly apologize to Darius Slayton this week.
Yes, I owe him an apology.
So please, let's start there. Please apologize to D. Slayton. So
I apologize.
Drew is the literal meme of it's like the bar and it says, "I'm going to kill myself" the entire time, and then at the end it jumps to, "Oh, good, thank God we won."
That's right. That's right. Well, just a couple things that I heard. Like, I didn't know this, but going into that game, 56% of our offense was Neighbors and Singletary. So, when I heard that, I'm like, "Oh, we in trouble." So,
well, let's transition that into a talk of Danny Dimes. Outside of the first game, he's tough to really complain about.
I agree.
Even more so than that. Not even not complain, but like praise even. He's playing extremely well, and I think the reason that this past game is you can't say, "Oh, it was Neighbors," "Oh, it was Singletary making him better than he is." He made the throws this week. I'm not sure what changed. He was short on every long ball last week, but this time he was just dropping them. I don't know what changed. Maybe he's getting more strength in his knee or whatever, but he looked like a real quarterback for a long-term possibility. I don't know if he'll stay that way with consistency, but it was there.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I was noticing certainly his mid ranges were on point, and they kind of have been on point. Like, but it's not like he never could throw the long ball. So I just think it's coming back. And I do think the biggest change is he is trusting his line. The line, especially like the run blocking, was fantastic this weekend.
Yeah.
And so I think he's getting confidence in them. So he's settling in the pocket a bit more and delivering instead of just chucking it. And so that's what I'm seeing. But I'm open to, Paco or Lucas chiming in with what they saw.
The game was won in the trenches, and
yeah,
I mean, what Tracy, that was his coming out party, in my opinion. Even though the line was great, I mean, after he broke to the second level, he was making guys miss. He was hard to tackle. But even when Jones threw Slayton that bomb and he threw it right in the breadbasket, if you saw the pocket, every replay of the game, every person I saw, they went to that play and they said, "Look at this pass set and look at the line. When have you seen that from a Giants line?"
It was like a perfect horseshoe right around him.
And he could step into the throw, and I mean, it was right on the dot, right on the money. And like you said, I think like you said, with his knee, I think he's getting back to full strength. He trusts the line, so he's willing to stand there in the pocket. I think the thing that set him apart, which was kind of swept under the rug, he had a couple big runs where he wasn't sliding, he was trying to go for the first. I mean, he was fighting, man, and I liked it.
You can struggle with whether or not you think he's the guy, but you cannot question this man's heart. He plays so hard every time. He is fearless. I mean, I want the kid to succeed so bad because I love who he is. And I just think that's the type of guy I want leading my team. But he's still, he's got to get that jugular thing, right? When you get a team down, you got to, so when we get in those late games like this one shouldn't even have been this close. I mean, let's go there, right? No. So, only the Giants, a team that lives for the field goal, would go for it for once in the red zone and turn it into a 103-yard fumble return for a touchdown the other way, right? I mean, only we would do that. Like, now I go, you should have kicked the field goal.
I watched a couple of highlights of that play. He was in. That was a touchdown.
It was a tough view because they had only from the back of the end zone in. They didn't have down the line. So when it looked like he was stretching out, he looked like he was short, and then that's when the ball came out. So I think in their defense, they didn't have too many angles. I mean, we know the fumbling thing is an issue, so are we really surprised?
5 fumbles in 5 games.
Well, and
by running back.
I do think part of the problem with that, pal, is they teach the refs in those situations to not blow the whistle.
Yeah.
So if they're not sure, and so it goes the other way. And then if you don't have the right angle, like in this situation, oh, well, I guess it was a fumble and a touchdown. So, that's where it gets tough. But
I do have a question for why is it, and I mean, you didn't play running back, but you played defense. Why is it that if you're as a running back, you're running towards the pile and you're like, wow, this is a massive humanity. Why don't I just try and see if I can go to the right?
Look at it.
It's one of those things where when you're in a clutter like that and you try to bounce it, it's somebody else on the other side is going to react to that too. They're kind of like, those outside guys, they're outside contained. So, they think you're going in the muck. But as soon as you bounce, they're going to bounce too. So I think that was one of those instances where he was just caught in the muck. And I think personally, I think that might have been better suited for Tracy in that situation for how – but that first drive, Eric Gray he had like 3 or 4 catches in a row. He had the screenplays. So he had the hot hand. So I could see why they're going to hand it off to him. But
yeah, I mean, he had earned it in that series, the opportunity. So – but, going back to Tracy, watching him, I think he's more Tiki than Saquon. He just sets his blocks up so well, and then he reads the creases and is just through before you know what's going on. I can't wait till they figure out how to get involved in the passing game, because the guy was a receiver his entire college career except his last year, so he's got the hands. So yeah, I mean, he's going to be a special weapon. And I think with Singletary back, like, to me, if Singletary were healthy, he'd have gotten that goal line run because he's a bull.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where we missed him the most was in that situation. Although he's fumbled a couple times too.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, let's go to our man though, Sexy Dexy. That guy.
They
is there a
said
better
they
lineman
said
we've had since Strahan, like, right? I mean,
they
he's
said
the best.
he's on pace for 20 sacks. As
a nose tackle.
as a nose tackle.
Yeah.
Put that into perspective.
I mean,
he's on pace for 20 sacks. I mean,
Aaron Donald, John Randall, Dex, they're different kind of people that can get that much pressure on the quarterback from the inside. It's truly staggering.
Well, they're opposites too, because Randall and Aaron Donald are small.
I know.
Yeah.
And Dex is polar opposite of he's just actually bigger than everything.
Yeah, Dex is more Warren Sapp. Really, that's kind of who he is.
Yeah.
He's Warren Sapp. He's that huge guy. And Sapp, I thought, played in a 4-3. I think he was a D tackle, not a nose tackle. But he's just like, again, his agility, his power. Again, certainly in my lifetime, we've never had a nose tackle like this. Like he may be like, if we were redoing the top 100, we might want to throw Sexy Dexy.
He's
in the high 80s for where he's now. Take a kicker out and let's put in.
There's a thought.
Dexter for a kicker. So
Andy essentially wins you. Andy essentially wins you the game. People don't notice that what he did sets up the gap for Simmons to jump through.
Yep.
I didn't see it who the other guy was, but did you notice both he and the other guy on both sides of the center, they shoved him down.
It was Nacho.
Did you see it, Steve? Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
It was Nacho.
And what I had heard was they kept that in their pocket. Like they had that as a play. They were ready to run if they needed it. And early they thought about it and went, no, let's wait. And then they thought they weren't going to need it because we were up frickin', 10 points. And so, yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. And thank God the refs didn't screw it up and go, oh, well, he jumped over.
Yeah, he must have. Yeah.
Yeah, the rule is you can't touch them. You can't, and he jumped over the gap. He didn't jump directly,
not over the man.
That's right. Snapper,
and
he didn't touch.
He annihilated the kicker too. That was the funniest thing.
Oh my God, it was great.
He blocked it, and then the kicker bounced off him like a pinball and just went flying.
Yeah, that was my Tynes tweet that he sent out because he loves kicker stuff. He's like, man, he totally blew up the kicker. So yeah, and it's one of those things where we've used that one. Now everyone knows, but that's okay. It won us a ball game, so it was totally worth using it when we used it. So yeah. Well, then this was fascinating too, though. Up until that game, we've had 15 points in the second half all year. Yikes! Like that's the DJ stuff I'm talking about. Like he needs to keep drives going in the second half. He needs to adjust to their adjustments, and to give him a little bit of slack though. His receivers freaking drop him at the worst times. It's like Eli 2.0. So
we're leading the league in drops,
and that's a common thing for the Giants. So. Yeah. What about our 22 sacks as a team?
Leading the NFL in sacks, drops, and
Burns comes through when you need him. It might not be every play, but it's the big play. He's been making big plays. It's not every play, but it's the big play.
Well, and I do think you need to take into account the pressure, like the fact that you have to account for him and Thibodeau and Dexter, right? That's what you need. That's why when we had OC and Tuck and JPP, it was like pick your poison, right? Who would you like to have the sack? Because one of them is going to get there. So, yeah.
I owe someone an apology as well.
Go ahead.
thought very highly of him last season, and I've talked very bad about him as well. The text messages will prove it. Deontay Banks had a hell of a game.
He did.
The
He did.
bank was closed. He shut down DK. Had a big pass breakup. Had the forced fumble. He shut him down. And I give it to him because he's caught a lot of heat from us fans. A lot of the media. They're kind of saying like, "All right, is this guy a bust or whatnot?" And he showed up and he helped us win a game. So I have to apologize for my criticism, I guess.
I'll make sure he gets that note. So, yeah, no, I thought about too when I saw Banks.
It was warranted before this game. He got called out by everybody, including his own team. Like, we need more. We know you're young, and we got a young secondary. But if you guys don't step up, the rest of it's going to fall apart. And they're starting to step up.
Yep. And this is part of why we're not 4-1 like we should be. Is again. The ability to not score points when we're ahead late in the game, and the defense all of a sudden giving up. Like, we gave up a 90-plus yard drive near the end of the game. Seattle had not been in the red zone till there were 2 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in that game. How is that game close? Right?
Yeah. Well,
he is playing that well.
If you want to look at the Giants and whether or not they're growing and improving, which is obviously they are, but there's some subtle things that you can see. If you go back to the opening day Vikings game, right? They had the nice turnover early on, like about the 25-yard line, and we figured they were just going to turn around and score. They stopped the drive, and then Van Ginkel gets his pick six immediately after the Giants got it. And from that point on, the Giants had no chance. They had no heart. Everything just seemed to fall apart. It was just ugly to watch. This time, you had almost the exact same scenario in reverse where they fumble, they should have scored a touchdown, it went the other way, and it didn't stop them. It didn't break them. They said, you know what?
Right.
Let's just hold it together and make this work. And that, to me, shows a lot about character within the team and coaching, frankly.
Yeah. And again, I'd like to think, like, I ripped on our man Shane, but I got to give him some credit on his draft at least, because our picks are
this draft.
Well. Yeah,
yes, this draft.
And, this draft. Yeah, we'll talk about this draft, but you're only as good as your last draft, right? And they definitely got some things right, and I do think, again, if they stay healthy, I do think we finally fixed the line, because they are really starting to play well together. I watch Brian Baldinger does like a breakdown of games, and he loves to get into that kind of stuff. And when you watch it with his eyes and he starts showing the blocks, you're like, man, they were really getting off the ball. They were really making the holes, pulling hot, solid, So, yeah, I like what this line is doing. That's for sure, for the first time in a while. So, anyway. Well, I'm going to go look at some of these stat texts that we had. So the one that Steve put out that was interesting was 100+ passer rating, right? That was one. 100-yard rushing and 100-yard receiving. Tracy and Slayton. What cracked me up was Eli did this in 14, which Eli I get. Beckham as receiver, but who the hell is Andre Williams? I don't even remember.
I don't even know who that is.
That was the running back that we had from Boston College.
Yeah.
He had a good game.
Good game,
right.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be like the next Brandon, because he was like really big and he just never really.
Yeah, he was a one-game wonder. He was one of those running backs we had. Maybe he had a game or two, and then just fell off from there.
Yeah. No, and it's always funny to me when I see something like that. I'm like, Andre Williams? Who is that?
Yeah.
What's up, Timmy Smith having the record for most yards in a Super Bowl? It's like, who the hell's Timmy Smith?
Yeah. Well, and
he had over 200.
And I think Lucas put this out there. We wreaked havoc on a lot of suicide pools this weekend, for sure.
I ate it.
Yeah.
There's a guy I meet in the gym every morning. He's a big Ravens fan. He's from the Baltimore area. And he came over to me just shaking his head because he knows I'm a Giants fan. He goes, he's apparently in a suicide pool where the total value is $1 million.
Wow.
And it was down to already, it was like over 1,000 people, and it was already down to 68, and he was one of them. And then he picked Seattle. So, but I could not imagine a million suicide pool. So, how are we feeling about D. Slayton's penalty?
Oh, it's such a double standard, man. I just don't understand it. It's football. It's a game. You're supposed to have fun. Guys are supposed to be excited. They made a big play. Why are we penalizing people for this? It's insane. Insane.
Yeah, and again,
I just don't understand.
It's like a gun. Is this what the?
It's a double finger gun, like
one finger.
Like it's
Like a
like
sniper.
first down. Like people have been doing it for years now. I just don't
Well, if you
understand.
do this, it's okay, and if you do this, it's okay. But you can't do this.
Did you guys see
Yeah.
the college football one this weekend?
Oh my gosh, that was bad.
I did.
The guy, you talk about the guy that puts the sword into this. So he scores a touchdown, acts like he puts a sword into his pants, then he pulls a gun out and shoots at the defender as he's walking away.
That wasn't even the worst one. There was the one in the Ole Miss game where the guy snaps the quarterback and they pretend to shoot him repetitively with a shotgun.
It's getting bad in college. College is getting bad. So the new celebration in college now is they don't even show they're not even showing the guns. They just lift their pants up like they're packing.
Okay,
It's
so
getting
just showing the gun.
They're showing
Oh, man.
I'll find that shotgun one because I was years.
That's ridiculous.
Pat McAfee had the one where the guy put the sword in front of the ref. He's looking at the ref while he's doing it. Puts the sword in. The defender's walking away, and he's just like.
Yeah, well, that's like the old Key and Peele, one. If he does one more thrust, he'll get the penalty. One more. Yeah. Well, and maybe that ref saw those highlights from the day before and just had it in his head about the whole gun thing. I don't know. So, but kind of crazy. So
You do it afterwards. Mahomes did it. Yeah.
CD.
There's only one difference: the helmet.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah, and I don't know if any of you guys watched the game last night. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched parts of it. But there was one point where they called the most bizarre holding on defense after a play was over. Like they tacked it on benefit of Kansas City. So wait a minute. You called a holding on a defensive lineman after the play was over against the Chiefs, who you never call an offensive holding on.
Yeah.
That's a little odd. So, yeah. Anyway, what do we think about Saleh? Are we blaming Aaron Rodgers for that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much. Well, what's funny is now Danny Dimes is playing significantly better than Aaron Rodgers right now, and it can be argued that what he did yesterday, he did with less talent than Rodgers did against Minnesota in London.
And I have that stat that I posted. He's 12th in QBR ahead of Dak, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, Pat Mahomes, and Jared Goff.
That's quite a hit list right there.
He's top 10 in yards. He's in his last 4 games, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, and the interception's on a Hail Mary. No?
Yeah.
Yep.
Playing well.
Well, who wants to say the Belichick phrase about this weekend? Let's all say it together.
We're
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati scares me because they have enough weapons to put up 40. The question is whether or not you can take care of their defense. Have you seen Burrow's numbers? He's got 15 TDs and 2 interceptions.
I have him in fantasy, so I'm well aware of Mr. Burrow.
Yeah, I have him in the league,
and I have
too.
Jamar
He's
Chase
scary.
in our family league. So, is there any shock that I'm 5-0 and in first place in our league because I have those two? But
yeah, if Danny can't match him,
I don't know that he needs to. First of all, I think our D can generate pass rush and hopefully contain. But the reality is, this game is one that will change my mind about where this season can go, because it's a prime time and it's at home. Two areas where we suck. Certainly, Danny sucks. Prime time and home against a team that was in the Super Bowl just 2 years ago. So was it 3?
3.
It was 2, 3.
21.
3 years ago. Anyway, and a team that's got higher expectations than they're playing. So we win that game. We're 3-3, primetime game. I might get a little twinkle in my eye and actually say the Jim Moore phrase, playoffs? Playoffs?
Playoffs?
We're talking playoffs? I don't know. Thoughts?
This is the best time this is the most confident I've felt going into. If you told me you were playing the Bengals in week 1, I was like, no way we're beating. Their defense is so bad, and they just lost like 2 more guys on defense. Like, we might score 40 points, but they also might score 40 points.
Yeah.
So it could be very entertaining.
It could be a who has the ball last.
Yeah. So
track meet. Absolutely.
I have to agree. I'm confident going into this one. Just the damn primetime games, man. I don't know. Just something about those primetime games. The whole world's watching. It's just like,
Hey, if Kirk turned it around, DJ can turn it around. Kirk, that was a crazy game too.
Amanda went for 30. Amanda went. I was like, Amanda, did you mess with your lineup? She said no. I was like, did you leave Kirk Cousins in? She said, yeah, I did.
35 points. Still won, but he had 35 points.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who do we have going to the game?
Tom bought the tickets from me.
Gotcha. Okay.
I had him. He's going with TJ. I think Haley's going, and then I think some old friend of his is going with them. So yeah, Tom. So family will be there, which is always good. So, but he's going. So yeah, it was funny. He's asking me because he hasn't gone in a little while for parking advice. Apparently, when you print out, like I transferred the parking pass to him electronically. And when you print it out, it shows like a row and a seat. He's like, is this a specific parking spot? And I'm like, yeah, I wish. I said, no, that gets you through the gate, and then it's the Thunderdome. So good luck.
Yeah, it's really a free-for-all.
It's hell.
It is. Again,
I'm gonna be tailgating in 2 weeks for the Eagles game, so I'm getting there crack of dawn early. So maybe this might be an experience where I get pretty close parking.
Is that the game?
Well, it's gonna be.
Mom?
So my mom's not going. My mom's not going anymore. It's Joe and his girlfriend now going with Amanda and I. So gonna tailgate for that one.
So you got all 4 then?
Yeah. Joe bought the other 2 from my mom. So.
Yep.
Cool. So.
No, that's cool. Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. And then the week after that, Lucas and I'll be together at the Pittsburgh game. Another prime timer. Yikes. So.
But that's in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's a Monday night in Pittsburgh. So.
Monday night. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have a hot take here. I know the coaching thing's a little crazy right now, but don't be shocked if something happens in Pittsburgh at some point. I feel like that train's starting to fall off the tracks too.
Tomlin?
No. He just signed a 3-year extension this offseason. He's not going anywhere.
You mean Tomlin?
No, there's no way.
Shocked.
Nope.
I don't know. I have a number of friends that around here. I mean, for some reason, Frederick is like Pittsburgh 2.0, and they're not fans of Tomlin.
There's a lot of people
most
around
Steelers fans are not.
Like he had his time and he did a great job, and kudos. But for the last 5 to 8 years, it's just been just over 500 out in the first round, just over, and it never gets better. And it's smoke and mirrors because they never have anybody on offense.
It's just like Pete Carroll. Look what Pete Carroll did in Seattle for so long, and they held on to him after they won the Super Bowl, and it was the same kind of ordeal. So very similar.
And when I'm told that thing, I go, "You don't know how good you have."
Well, that ties into another stat I saw today.
Go.
The Jets owner has made 25 firings during the season of head coaches.
Oh, he's done it during the season. I thought I heard that this was the first one he had done during the season. So you're saying they've actually done 25 previous in the season?
I think so. Or unless I read the stat wrong. I would have to see.
The other way around. Double check that. I thought that this was the first time he did fire one in season. That's what
I don't know. 5 games is pretty quick trigger.
Yeah, because you win the next 2, you're 4-3, and you're winning. I
mean, it's not like Minnesota was like Jacksonville. They're like they were 4-0 and a good team.
Now that's the next guy that's about to go. If Jacksonville gets blown out, that's the next guy that's about to go back.
I know. Well, and if if Rodgers isn't careful, he's on the cusp of becoming a pariah like Russell Wilson. Like if the Jets
Denver?
get no better and are terrible, it's going to be like, Aaron, you're just a big crybaby. You won one Super Bowl. Shut up.
Well, I watched that entire game, like every play this past Sunday.
Yeah.
There's nothing about Aaron Rodgers in that game that said this is still the greatest quarterback in the league. I'd be hard pressed to put him in the top 15, which is exactly where he is. So he hasn't had a 300-yard game in 3 years.
Yeah, since he won his last MVP. Yeah.
Granted, he did miss an entire season with the Achilles thing, but still, that's a long damn time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, well, and I guess they didn't build a team around him like the Broncos did with Peyton at the end of his career. Because Peyton wasn't the same Peyton, but what a defense. And Peyton was still really good. And Peyton played with it himself. Aaron is not Aaron anymore, and they're expecting him to be Aaron, and it's just not there. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
One receiver. Their line is should be better, but they're not. So
yeah, I'm surprised they're not, and they might be talking about it, but backing up some sort of Brinks truck to the Raiders to get Devontae because.
I bet you that comes out tomorrow.
He's not happy at all, and he and Aaron have a history, and the Jets need him. So, did you find it out, Drew? Was it
I think you had it right. I think it's the first time in 25 seasons.
Yeah, they've ever done it in season. That's a big deal, especially to your point, this early. And to me, that tells me they think they can salvage it, right? That there's something that they've got going, and he was the problem. I don't know.
They're one game out of first place in their division. That's the head scratcher.
You would figure if they had somebody waiting in the wings that could, take the team to the next level, they would have just started the season with them. Why wait 5 games?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they had to see how he and Rodgers were going, and obviously it's not going well. Like whenever you see Rodgers on the sideline, he looks like an annoyed, disinterested jerk. That's what he looks like.
He's always got those sad eyes.
Yeah.
And COVID toes.
All right. Well, on that note of COVID toes, let's wind this down. So, all right, we'll see how it goes in Cincinnati. On to Cincinnati. We'll see. Again, I don't want to get too crazy off of one win, but damn, it was a fun win. So, but I want us to have a game where in the fourth quarter we're just kicking back and sipping on something and enjoying it, not screaming at the television, texting each other, we're going to lose this game. That's what I want. So, all right, well, guys, tomorrow, think of me because, Milton is on his way. Hopefully it's not a big deal, but love you guys. We'll catch you next week. Yep.
Do.
See you.